Welcome to the Jedi Ranger. I'm JohnBerry555, and today I'm continuing my series of Mash Wikia reviews with the final episode of Season 3. That episode is Abyssinia, Henry. So, we were going to get to this episode eventually, obviously, and one thing I do want to just take a note about the title is Abyssinia actually comes from the alternative name that white colonists, white colonizers, white Europeans, whatever we want to call them, gave to Ethiopia for many years. But in this episode, this title, it's just a pun. Abyssinia, I'll be seeing you. It's literally a pun, and if you didn't understand where I was going from there, yeah, I'm sorry for revealing that pun to you. But this is the final episode for Henry. It's actually also the final episode of Trapper, but they did not know that at the time during production. We'll talk about that when we actually start Season 4. But this is the goodbye episode to Henry. He gets word that he's going to be discharged. He's gotten his points. He calls his family back home. And then they have basically their farewell of him in camp. Just a short party with him, Hawkeye, Trapper, and Radar. And then you get the formal goodbye from the camp. Of course, Klinger, of course, is still wearing his dress, has Henry zip him up, and that's all fun and games until the very end. Wounded come in, OR, and then Radar comes in without a mask. He's told to put a mask on, then reads a dispatch from command letting them know that Henry's plane was shot down over the Sea of Japan. And that's a very impactful scene. I knew it. I knew this was coming. I've watched this episode several times. But for audiences back when this aired in March of 1975, this was a total shocker. In more than just way, not only did a major character leave the show, but a major character was killed off, which was not something sitcoms did at the time. Characters have left before, and that is a fact, but normally it's like they went off to school, they moved for a new job, something much more easy, or the actor left but they replaced the actor and they just kept on the character as normal. Bewitched did that, I know. So this was a really definitive killing off of a character. The character died, and that also, I think, is really earmarking how Mash is truly starting to lean more into drama. We'll see that in the next couple of seasons, especially later on with more drama, but this is the first time a major character died in Mash. Minor characters, yes, but a major character has been with us for nearly every episode in the past 3 seasons. And gotta keep this in mind when this episode aired, 1975. The Vietnam War was still going on. So this helped, I think, remind people that, hey, Mash is set during a war. It may not have been a Vietnam War, but it would have been in people's minds. And just to really get on how close this was set to the Vietnam War, the fall of Saigon during the Vietnam War was in 1975. So, not that far. In fact, it was April 1975, April 30th. And I said this episode came out in March 1975, March 18th. So we'll basically talk about a month and 12 days, pretty much. Not that long afterwards, this episode aired, did Saigon fall. And that's been this episode into a lot of historical context that some of the other episodes didn't have. And I think also the fall of Saigon may have also infected how the future seasons will be developed as well. But this episode was like doing Vietnam in more ways than one. The first 3 seasons were set during Korea, but were made during Vietnam in ways that the other seasons weren't. And I think that might have contributed to the more comedy tone, trying to make fun of war. Well, now that the later seasons will be discussing the Korea War after Vietnam ended, I think might take more reflective. I'll probably talk about this more when I talk about the season as a whole. But this episode was really impactful in those regards, and and really just all that emotional. Like right before they filmed this final scene, only the main cast were told of it, told that what was going to happen. So a lot of those emotions are real. Now, they did actually have to reshoot that scene because of a technical glitch. So what we see was not the first take, but they used that first take as basically the script for the second take, as I understand it. Though apparently, according to the Mash Wikia, so I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently McLean Stevenson was still on set when that final scene was filmed, and they were going to have a season-ending cast party, but and it ended up being canceled because of just everyone's emotions. Yeah, so that probably could have been handled better behind the scene. But for the show, for itself, for the impact, oh man, was it great. Just behind the scenes, maybe they could have done it a little better. And the night after this episode aired, a show, not the Carol Burnett show, as many believe was a different show. It was Chairs. Honestly, the Mash Wiki is not giving me enough information, but basically, a separate show from Mash has McLean Stevenson and Peel basically in his Henry costume, in a raft by himself saying, "Hey guys, I'm okay, I'm okay." Sadly, that's not how it canon to Mash, but that was a fun little thing that another show did. No, just people talked. Also, this is the highest episode of MASH on IMDb, at least as of May of last year. So that just shows something. I think part of that is because of how impactful this episode is. It really, yes, there's been some other great episodes of MASH that really helped set the tone already, that are showing what MASH will become. But this episode truly introduced that, hey, MASH is going to be more serious. Killing off a main character is a serious thing. And this is that change episode. It really changed the status quo in a way that not many shows would do, especially comedy sitcoms were doing at the time. So, there's a lot more we could say about this episode. But I think where I want to leave you guys with this is this. This is a really great episode. It's sad, it's tragic, but it makes it probably the best episode of early seasons of MASH, especially if you want an episode that feels more like what MASH would become. But I do want to hear your thoughts. The comment section is open down below, so let's keep the discussion going. And join me next week when I talk about Season 3 as a whole. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the force be with you, always.